Welcome grade 12s. Today I'll be going through your ELO project. This video will be taken part in parts. So it should be around 5-minute parts. Right, so basically you've been tasked with this project, and it says as follows: human rights violations and discriminations take place in our community every day. Too many of us have become desensitized to these issues. Our challenge in becoming responsible citizens of our country is to become better informed, become proactive in raising awareness, and to find solutions to the problems around us. This is by Annan. And you have to choose one of the topics below and conduct research by consulting 5 sources or more. Your focus must remain on the chosen topic throughout the task. Please also refer to the rubric, which will be provided which will provide further clarity on the details of what you are required to do. I will go through the rubric with you. Your research should be presented in an essay format and should center around the human right violation that you have chosen. So you have to choose between either human trafficking or xenophobia. So an introduction of it. You need to, in your introduction, define and describe the human right violation that you have chosen. Give a description of a recent 2018 to 2021 example of how this problem has displayed itself in your community. Give your own position on this specific problem in our country. So you have to do 3 things in your introduction. Please look here on the side as to how the marks will be divided to know how much you should elaborate on each point, depending on how much marks will be given. Right. Based on the research that you conducted, write an essay in which you address the following issues. Name and explain 2 laws or legislation that protect citizens against a specific human right violation you have chosen. Describe 2 ways in which the above law protects citizens against human right violations. How can discussions, projects, campaigns, and events support victims of human rights violations, and express your views on how the law, the citizen, and community can protect and support victims of human rights violations. So activity 2, you need to gather data through interviews. So once you've done your research and once you've done your essay, you will then later have to do interviews of various people. So you'll interview at least 6 learners at your school about their knowledge on human rights violations. It is important that interviewees and the interviewer are properly socially distanced and maintain safety protocols. So although you are doing an interview, you need to make sure you observe the COVID-19 protocols. Use the questions below as a guide to help you. So you may use these questions as a guide. Interview questions. Do you know what human rights are? Please explain your answer. Are you aware of human rights violations happening in the community? Explain which laws protect citizens from human rights violations, and is the government doing enough to ensure that human rights are protected? Explain your viewpoint. Which department or organization would you approach if your human rights had been violated? So you could ask, based off these guidelines, questions that will sort of factor in everything that is covered here. Right? Assess the knowledge of the learners you have interviewed by conducting a statistical analysis of the responses data that you gathered for each of the questions above. Now I'll give you an example later as I go through an article that does this. Explain the findings for each question and provide a reason for your answer. Okay, so once you found or evidence, you've done in a bar graph, you've put in a bar graph, and you're now going to comment on the findings. Right, please again consult the mark allocation so you know how much to write. Activity 3, findings. You need to discuss 3 contributing factors that lead to the human right violation that you have chosen. Then you need to evaluate to what extent the following institutions have or are currently supporting communities affected by human rights violations. Use an example for each to support your answer. Government, community, and religious organizations. So use these 3 examples to support your answer, and you need to comment on each of these. Please again look at the mark allocation, which ones you need to speak of more and which ones you need to speak of less. Right. And that concludes part one of me going through the project. I will, in the next part, go through the rubric with you.